Twins buried alive were revived by their beloved dog. Mary, just a week ago, buried her boys, two lovely twins. She still couldn't believe they were no longer alive. It seemed only recently that they had celebrated the children's birthday and given them a puppy. When the twins died of a sudden illness, she couldn't keep the puppy. The only solution that seemed right was suggested by her husband. He suggested putting the puppy to sleep and placing it in the coffin with the children. Neither he nor Mary would be able to look at the growing dog and think what the boys might be like now. Selling the dog or giving it away to someone else wasn't an option. The puppy was a mongrel and not wanted by anyone but their boys. It was only a week later, Mary wasn't herself. She didn't know what she was doing and how to live on. One day, she received a strange letter in an envelope without an address or a postmark. There were no details in the letter. Someone had made an appointment for her, but why? Mary was desperate and decided to go to the meeting at the appointed time. Suddenly, a puppy ran towards her from around the corner. It struck her that it was exactly the same puppy as the one she had buried with the children. No, it couldn't be. It wasn't that puppy. It was that puppy. It was exactly that puppy. How did it come back to life? How did it get out of the grave? Mary squatted down beside it. The puppy gave paws and wagged its tail. Yes, there could be no doubt. The little boy recognized her. Mary looked up to see who was leading the dog on a leash and was dumbfounded. From around the corner came her children, her twins, the boys she had buried a week ago. They were definitely dead. She personally washed their bodies and laid them in a custom-made coffin so that the children would lie together as together had come into this world. With the children walked the old cemetery keeper. He had saved her children. He had dug up the grave and sheltered the twins with him. Mary stood looking at them, and tears flowed down her cheeks. She suddenly remembered clearly the smallest detail, the very day she had come to the vet clinic and asked to put her puppy to sleep. "Could you please put my puppy to sleep?" Mary said tiredly. "What's wrong with it? Is it sick? Does it need treatment?" asked the young vet in the waiting room. "I don't know. I just want to put it down, that's all," Mary said in an indifferent voice. She didn't want to explain anything. It was too much to ask for a simple request. "But we can't put a healthy animal to sleep," said the vet. "I see. Then I'll do it myself." The woman got out some pills, took the puppy out of the bag, and started forcibly shoving the pills in its mouth. The puppy resisted, whimpered. The pills fell out of its mouth. "Oh, stop it! All right, we'll do it." She snatched the puppy from the abnormal's hands and dashed off into another room. The little dog didn't understand why it had been treated so badly or why it had suddenly angered their owners. It looked straight into the heart of the vet, thinking that she was its salvation. It had no idea that now, instead of salvation, this woman would give him an injection that would put him to sleep forever. And then a strange plan was born in the vet's mind. "Don't be afraid, little one," she said, and gave him a shot. The puppy shrieked, jumped up, and tried to lick the injection site. The vet stroked the baby. "Well, that's all," Mary's voice came from the hall. The vet stroked the puppy again. It became soft as a rag and rolled onto its side. She took it in her arms and carried it out into the hall. "Here you go." The doctor held out her hands with the puppy. "No, not now. I have a funeral to prepare. I'll pick it up tomorrow," Mary muttered hurriedly, leaving the clinic. "I should have known," the vet said aloud. She laid the puppy down on a soft pillow, pulled the blanket over it, and kissed its nose. "Sleep sweetly, my little one. I'll take you home tomorrow." The young doctor decided to take pity on the puppy. She injected the usual anesthetic they give during surgery to show the woman that the puppy had died. She was sure she wouldn't take him back. These people who bring their pets to be put to sleep are usually cowardly and prefer to get rid of the disposal problem. The vet decided to take the puppy for herself. She just needed to get some things ready too, buying a cot, bowls, and so on. She wanted to bring the puppy in the morning to the place already set up. As it happens, the vet overslept. It's no big deal. She rushed to work in anticipation of meeting her puppy. It should have been awake by now, but as it turned out, she was beaten to it. That woman, Mary, came and got the puppy. It was terrible. She was going to bury it. Something had to be done immediately. The young vet began searching for her client at her residential address. She was slightly surprised when she arrived at the address to find that the whole family had gone to the cemetery. The twins were being buried that day. Such grief, such tragedy, wailed a neighbor who was talking to the vet. The elderly women in the apartment complex are very fond of talking to strangers and sometimes telling them things they are not asked to. For example, this is how the vet found out that the family was so nice, decent. The twins were polite and friendly. They had moved here recently, just when a neighbor had married Mary. There was nothing wrong with him being a stepfather to the children. It happens and people live happily ever after. But recently, a bad thing happened to the twins. They both instantly collapsed during a walk, as if they were dead. Their little puppy, given to the boys just the day before, was running around their owners and licking their cheeks, trying to revive them, perhaps. Probably some kind of disease, said the woman. I feel sorry for Mary. She didn't look herself when she placed the puppy to the boys in the coffin. Yes, it was Victor, the stepfather's decision. He had told his wife to put the puppy to sleep so it could be with the boys in heaven. What noble, exalted people, the old woman continued to lament. So that was why she had to put the puppy to sleep. The vet ran to the cemetery to prevent the irreparable. She couldn't bury the puppy, which might wake up at any moment. It was strange that it hadn't woken up until now. She must have miscalculated the dose a little too much after all. When the vet came running in, she was horrified to find that it was too late. The coffin had been buried. She grabbed her head. It would have been better if she had euthanized the poor animal, which was now about to die a terrible death. The girl went home. She was unable to cope with herself. Meanwhile, the puppy had regained consciousness in a small, dark room, smelled its boys around, and seemed to calm down. The puppy curled up and tried to sleep, but the oxygen was dwindling at a catastrophic rate. It crept over to the faces of its young owners and started licking them, but for some reason the boys didn't want to wake up. The puppy started licking the children with even more vigor. And miraculously, one boy opened his eyes. The cemetery caretaker was passing through at this moment. He heard some stirring under the ground in a fresh grave. When he dug it out, he was frankly discouraged. The boys were buried that day. The family was so heartbroken and the mother wept. She couldn't have had anything to do with it. The father, on the other hand, seemed pleased. The old wise-hearted watchman left the children at his place to sort out what was going on. But who'd have thought that the retired cemetery keeper was an old investigator from the regional prosecutor's office? The old man started a real investigation. Although he personally already knew the answer, when everything was in its place, the old man decided to distract Maria away from arresting her husband. Victor wasn't at all the father of the twin boys, as he had thought at first. The rascal turned out to be a stepfather who was annoyed by other people's children. He decided to drug them with sleeping pills and bury them as if they were dead. The old man wrote the very same letter to Mary when he made the appointment. That's the story. Thank you for listening to the end. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to not miss any new videos. All the best.